Mike Lofton, thanks for taking a few minutes with us. One of the things that I think gets commingled in our minds when we think about housing shortages are the terms affordable housing and housing market. How do you, taking into account both those terms, how do you think of the housing as a whole, I guess?
Well, I would say that, the term affordable housing is inherently a relative term, right? What you can afford may be different than what I can afford. I think the way I think about it is, do you have a housing market or a housing spectrum that all types of housing and different income levels are served, right? So that you're looking at the healthy housing situation is one in which the whole spectrum is being served, right? There's interventions to help homeless people get out of homelessness. There's affordable rental housing. There's home ownership housing. There's ways to help people that already own their home keep it because they may need to fix the roof or something. But you look at the whole spectrum of it, and there's higher income people who need housing, and if there's not housing for them, then it creates pressure downward on the other housing, and so you got to look at it holistically.
In Albuquerque, which is one of the markets in which HomeWise works, the economic development is making what's perhaps an understandable play, from their perspective, for more workers from big cities making good salaries who might be able to work remotely from Albuquerque. It certainly, as I said, from an economic development perspective, sounds good, but might they be crowding out people who already live here who are looking to get into the housing market?
Well, yeah, I mean, anytime a job gets located in New Mexico and Albuquerque, and there's more demand for a workforce, then there's going to be more people moving here, and it's going to create pressure on the housing market. Whether they're working from home or working from an office, they still have to live somewhere. So I don't think economic development and economic growth is inherently oppositional to affordable housing, right? It's like, I don't know why we can't have both. And so I think what the city's doing is actually kind of an interesting idea, and I think a pretty innovative idea on trying to figure out a way to do economic development without just chasing a smokestack or a big firm or Amazon or whatever. It's, hey, there's, our quality of life is terrific here. And if you could work for Google and make what they make in the Bay Area and live in New Mexico, you're going to have a pretty good lifestyle. So I think what they're doing, I think, is as an economic development strategy, is fundamentally sound. I think the problem is you need a corresponding housing strategy, and that I don't think the city of Albuquerque has. I don't think we have a housing strategy of how we're going to make sure we build a healthy housing spectrum, so that there's more housing and more options that people can afford and benefit from.
Sure. The city said to us last week that they don't anticipate this being a sort of land rush from out of towners, right? That it'll happen more gradually and the housing market will have time to adjust to that. Is there a way for us to gauge whether or not that scenario is a reasonable expectation?
I don't know how you would gauge that. I mean, I guess I don't know what their metrics are and what they're measuring, but I think I wouldn't wait to do the measurement after the fact. I would start saying, what can we do now to increase housing options? And I think if you're going to be attracting, people who are telecommuting and stuff, and some of those people are going to be single people who aren't necessarily going to want the suburban home in a rancho, that are going to want to live downtown where they can walk. And are we creating housing options downtown? Are we creating, and for single people, and are we creating ownership options? Because a lot of people get tired of spending money on rent. And they're going to want to and if you want them to put down roots, then ownership is a good way to do that. But then you're going to have people say, I'll move it here. I don't know if I'm going to like it. I need something I can rent. So you need all those kind of options. Excuse me.
Sure. Who needs to be thinking about this stuff from a higher level, from that 30,000 foot perspective? Our political system isn't really set up for someone like the mayor to necessarily be thinking 10, 20, 30 years down the road.
Well, I think mayors have to do that. We need them to do that. I think it's essential that they do that. I think there's actually a lot of good stuff being written recently about the power of mayors to innovate and pave new ways. Well, Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, wrote a book on the central role of cities. There's another book called The New Localism that makes the same kind of argument. So I think cities are a place where this can happen. But it takes leadership at the top. It takes, because you got to coordinate with the economic development department. You need a housing strategy. We don't have a housing department that just focuses on housing in Albuquerque. Maybe that's something that should happen. But if you're gonna, you can't do economic development without also looking at where people are gonna live. They go hand in hand. And housing, unfortunately, gets left behind a lot on this. And what we do, and this is true for City of Albuquerque, is there's just a lot of focus on how to do very low income rental housing, which is an important need, but it doesn't address the whole spectrum. So when someone buys a house, it frees up a rental unit for someone that needs that rental unit, right? That's why the spectrum is so important. It's all interconnected. And then the other thing is just like spatially, where do people want to live? And I think if we're going to revitalize downtown, if you don't have more people living there, you're never going to do it, right? So the Silver Street grocery store, which is a great thing that happened there needs to be more people that can walk to that store if that store is going to be viable, right? And then when the store is viable, downtown is more viable, more people want to live there. It's a virtuous cycle. And so we're actually HomeWise is getting ready to build 16 townhouses right across the street from Silver Street Market, which will be a really good thing. And it's mixed income. It's not all low income. There'll be real affordable housing there. There'll be market rate housing there. And I think that's the kind of thing we need. The problem with that project is it's only 16 units.
Right. It's incremental change. You've done some work for the Urban Institute, and you argue that, especially since coming out of the housing crisis a decade ago, owning a house can actually be cheaper than renting. Can you spend maybe a moment explaining what you're getting at there?
Yeah. So there's a growing recognition among policymakers in the Biden administration, especially that the path to closing the racial wealth gap in America is largely going to be accomplished by closing the racial homeownership gap. And so there's some recognition of that. What's not recognized is how homeownership is also this very powerful engine for housing affordability. So I did a paper for the Urban Institute that looked at what do people pay as a percentage of their income on housing, and homeowners across the country the typical homeowner pays 10 percentage points less on housing than does the renter. It's not 10 percentage, it's 10 percentage points. It's like a third less. And then I look controlled for income. And if you look at people who make less than $50,000 a year, which is considered low income, that 10 percentage point advantage holds. When you look at people who are very low income making less than 20,000, it still holds. When you look across racial and ethnic line, it holds. So it is like we overlook it as this. It's a powerful kind of affordable housing. And the main reason I go at length explaining why this is true, but the main reason is when you buy a home, typically you're locking into a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. So your principal and interest portion of your housing expense, with the exception of taxes and insurance, is held constant for 30 years. There's no such thing as a 30-year lease, right? So you get progressively ahead because you've held constant the vast majority of your housing payment. What I think the reason why I think we tend to think that buying a home is more expensive than renting is because of our own experiences. Like when you buy a house, typically your what you pay on housing goes up, but it's not driven by the tenure, right? It's not because I'm going from being a renter to an owner. It's typically because I'm going from a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a garage and a yard. If I rented that extra housing, I'd be paying more too, right? So we conflate those two things. It's like, no, it's in fact, in 2/3 of American counties, it is cheaper to buy a home than it is to rent a comparable home today, not in the future because, of the inflation thing I was talking about earlier. That's true right now. It only gets better because you've controlled the principal and interest portion of your housing expense.
Sure. And you were looking at, to let people know, you were looking at numbers from Zillow. So these weren't just, arcane numbers out there. One of the things that I noticed in your paper was that, you talked about the racial disparities and ethnic disparities. If you look at Black and Hispanic homeowners, even at low income levels, they are doing better in terms of what percentage of their income goes to their housing than white renters. So it really seems to level the playing field, does it not?
Oh yeah, no, it's stunning, right? That Black homeowners and Hispanic homeowners pay less percentage of their income than white renters do across the board. But here's the rub on that. In Albuquerque, in the metropolitan area of Albuquerque, 73% of whites, non-Hispanic whites, own their own home. It's only 65% of Hispanics, which is still, compared to the national statistics, is pretty good. But in 1990, the Hispanic home ownership rate and the Anglo home ownership rate in Albuquerque were the same. There was no gap. A gap has grown since then. What's really disturbing is the home ownership rate for African Americans in Albuquerque is only 44%. Like, it's a huge gap. It's almost 30 points between white homeowners and Black homeowners. We could do better. I think, what I think we should do as a city is we should say we're going to become the first city in America that has no home ownership gap. We don't have a racial home ownership gap. We close it. And it's doable.
Well, Mike Lofton, we thank you so much for your time. We knew we'd run short, and of course we did. But thank you again. We appreciate your work on this and paying attention to it.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.